interest. And before we get started on how to calculate interest, I just want to make sure we understand what interest is and all of the other words we'll be seeing. So interest is just a part of the total amount that you borrow or invest that accumulates and either you get back or you owe. So in here, I just want us to say a part of the amount borrowed or invested. So if you borrow money, the interest that accumulates, that is what you have to pay back. And then if you invest something, the interest that accumulates, that adds up, is what is more money that you get back. So sometimes you have to pay it, sometimes you get it. Principal, when we're looking at all of these, is just the amount you begin with to invest or borrow. So it's either how much you invest initially or how much you borrow initially. The rate is an interest rate, and it's always a percentage, but it needs to be written as a decimal in the equation that we're going to be looking at. And then time is always in years when we're looking at these. So as we're solving these interest problems, we'll be given 3 out of the 4 of these things, and we have to find the 4th one. We use that by using this equation. Interest equals principal times rate times time. I equals PRT. So simple interest calculates the interest based on the principal amount. So let's look at a couple examples using this equation. So Danielle borrows $2,500 from the bank at 6% simple interest, so that's her rate, 6%, for 5 years. How much is Danielle going to pay in interest? So we want to find her interest, how much she's going to have to owe, how much more she's going to have to owe at the end. So interest is what we're trying to find. So we're just going to keep that as I as we go through this equation. Equals, then P is next, P for principal. That's how much she begins with, she borrows in the beginning. So she borrows $2,500, so that's her principal, $2,500, times the rate. The rate is the percentage, which is 6% in this one. As a decimal, it's going to be 0.06, 600ths, times the time. And it's the time in years, that's our T, and that's 5. So to find the interest now that we have it all set up in our equation, all we have to do is multiply all those together, and we end up getting $750. So she has to pay $750 in interest on top of what she initially borrowed. So to figure out how much she has to pay in total, we would add $2,500 to $750, and that's how much she has to pay back in total. But this is just the extra amount she has to pay back. Let's look at another example. It helps to write the equation, so you know what the equation is. I equals PRT, just get used to writing it. Terry invests $6,000 in a CD at an annual interest rate of 7%. What will his investment be worth at the end of 6 months? So again, we want to find how much the investment will be worth. So we want to find the interest. So if we start with the interest, how much money he'll get after 6 months, well, that's what we're trying to find. So we'll keep that the variable. P, the principal, how much it started at, 6,000, times the rate, R, which is 7%, so 700ths as a decimal, times the time. Remember, the time is always in years. That's important because in this case, 6 months is half a year, so we have to use 0.5. You don't have to put that in parentheses. I'm not sure why I did. And then just go ahead and multiply all those. Multiply all those together, use a calculator. We end up getting $210. So that's how much interest he's accumulated. Now, notice it says, what will his investment be worth? So this CD is worth the interest he's accumulated and the initial price. So to figure out how much it's worth in total we want to add. So we get $6,210. It doesn't just ask for the interest, it asks for what his investment will be worth. So that means in total. So $6,210. So sometimes we have to add our interest to the principal, sometimes not. All right, let's go to look at a few more at the back, or just two more, and then that'll be it. So we won't always find the interest. Sometimes we have to find other things. So by solving an equation, other missing information can be identified. So if we look at this third one, Mr. Jeffrey signed up for the payment plan when purchasing a new refrigerator. He will pay an extra $345 in interest over a period, so $345 in interest over a period of 24 months at 3%. How much was the new refrigerator before the payment plan? So we know the interest, we know the time, and we know the rate. So going to our equation, I equals PRT, we're looking for the principal, how much the refrigerator was in the very beginning. So when we do this, plug in everything. 345 is the interest, so that's our I. 345 equals the principal, we don't know, times the rate, 3% as a decimal, 300ths, and then times the time. 24 months is 2 years. So then go ahead and multiply what you can on this side. So 345 equals P times 300ths times 2 would give us 600ths. Now to get P by itself, it's just like solving an equation. We want to divide by 600ths. Those will cancel. And then when we divide these on a calculator, we get 5,750. And then P. So that's the principal. So that's our answer. The refrigerator was 5,750 when they initially bought it before the payment plan. Example 4 is going to work really similar. So Hayden invested $2,000 in his savings account, or in his college fund, sorry. Several years later, he had earned $960 in interest at a simple interest rate of 8%. How long was Hayden's money invested in the college fund? So how long was it invested? We want to find the time. So using our equation, plug in what you know. We know the interest is $960. We know the principal, how much he started with, is $2,000, times the rate, percentage is 800ths as a decimal, 8%, and then we don't know the time. Go ahead and try to, make sure you know that's a T. Now we want to find the time. So go ahead and solve this equation and see what you get for the T, the time. So when we do this, we get 960 equals 2,000 times 800ths. When we do that on a calculator, we get 160. So we have 160 times T, or 160T. We want to get T by itself, so we divide both sides by 160. When we do that, we end up getting 6. So since T equals 6, he had the money invested in his account for 6 years, and that's how he got that $960 of interest. He was just sitting there for 6 years. So with all of these, you know this equation. You'll always use this equation for these, and you just plug in what you know and solve for whatever is missing. That's what you would do for these ones. We're not going to go through these. If you want to try them and then check with me tomorrow, you're welcome to. We'll practice these more tomorrow. To keep this in your notebook, since we're not doing these problems here, you can just go ahead and fold it, glue it on this side, and then you'll have this to open up to, so you can always see this equation. That's an important equation. But glue this in, put it in your table of contents, so you have these notes to always reference to when we're solving interest problems.